Hey guys, Mike here from Lunch Money Comics. It's that time of year again for another library sale. As I've mentioned on my channel several times in the past, this local library in my area has a huge book sale a couple times a year. I love going for the books, but sometimes they also have cheap comic books, and I've found some pretty great stuff in the past. Last year I found a great one, the first appearance of Harley Quinn. You have to pay extra to be here on the first day, and there's a huge line to get a number to even get in early. Well, I'm number 25. I'll be one of the first ones in, so fingers crossed, guys. Let's see if we can have as much luck today as we did last year. So this is the Clapp Memorial Library in Belchertown, Massachusetts. And they do this sale about twice a year, and it's a great way to, raise money for this library. But to go on the first day, you need to pay that special fee, which I do, and I don't even go to this library. I just pay it so I can get into the sale on the first day, not so much for comic books, but mostly just for vintage old books, which I also collect. But I've had a lot of good luck here in the last couple of years for comic books, so I'm making a beeline to where I usually find them, which is in the young adult section. This is where I've had the most luck in the past, and you see I hit pay dirt right away. Although there's nothing amazing in here, this is definitely a good sign to find some comic books right away. And after a little bit more searching, I find some kind of funny ones, but also, for me, what I would call a jackpot, some New England Comics ticks, which are really cool and very unexpected. As you see me pull out more comics, there was a Deadpool on top, probably shouldn't be in the kids section. The rest of these were Dark Crystal comic books. I love Dark Crystal and I love Jim Henson, but I ended up passing on all of these. And now you see I'm starting to find trade paperbacks. So this is the other reason I love going to this sale. So much great comic reading material. Most of these are actually over in the adult section, but there's enough in the kids section. It's definitely worth looking quite closely. I found an X-Men one right there. Here we see a Batman New 52 hardcover. Book I already own, but hey, awesome to find it there. Then we find some other stuff. Again, some of these are suitable for kids. We have some Sam Wilson, Captain America, and then there's a Deadpool right after it. All new X-Men with Miles Morales. Still looking through there, you find things that you don't expect, like this. This is Little Bird. Now, I've never read this before, but it's an Eisner Award winner, and a friend of mine vouched for it and said it was a really, really good read. Great art, so I decided to pick that one up. And that's why I love this, guys. It's sort of a box of chocolates, right? You see stuff that you're already familiar with that you really want to read, and then you find something else you've never seen before and you want to give a shot. Here we have the Mighty Nine. This is based off the Critical Role D&D players. I decided to pass on that, actually, just about being a big D&D fan. I find more comic books here. I see some Avatar stuff, Free Comic Book Day, and then again, more of these Dark Crystals, including duplicates. I don't know if these came from a comic shop or what, but basically, I only took a couple, guys. I took a few comics I thought were interesting, and everything else goes back on the shelf. Hopefully, a kid is going through this, young adult section, find some comic books, and then they're hooked. Here you see I'm looking up a little further to where the graphic novels are, and then the manga. You see these two shelves full of manga? Remember that, because by the end of the week, this would look very, very different. So I head on over to the adult section now. My bag already pretty full, and you see how many graphic novels are here. There are a ton of them. And right off the bat, I find an amazing one. This is the entire Watchmen storyline. This is brand new, guys, in perfect shape, never been read. That goes in the bag. You see, I find some other stuff here. Again, a good mix of stuff I'm familiar with and stuff I've never seen before. Now's a good time to explain why I'm not just grabbing everything. So this is the way the sale works. If it's a hardcover book, it's $2, and if it's a soft cover, it's $1. Anything that's like a magazine or a periodical or a comic book is 50 cents. So I'm only getting stuff that I absolutely want to have. I know that seems like a great price, but here's the thing. On the last day of the sale, everything is half price. So all those hardcovers are now $1. All these soft covers, all these trade paperbacks you see me looking at will be 50 cents if they're still there by the end of the week. So I'm only grabbing stuff I absolutely want. You saw me grab a Moon Knight there a second ago, a whole bunch of Spectre books, stuff I'm going to talk about in a second. But on that last day, I did come back to the sale to kind of scoff up all the rest at a great discount. And hey, look at that, V for Vendetta. Not in great shape at all, but I'm always going to pick up some more Alan Moore, right, guys? So yeah, I came back, and as you're going to see, this shelf was more bare than I was hoping it would be. I was hoping to basically grab everything. Nope, other people found these, in the, 5 days between this footage and, the last time I was in there. So I grabbed a ton of these. I will be talking about them in a second. But then I want to go into the rare book section. So there's a special section where the more expensive stuff that doesn't fit that sort of $2, $1 theme, they put that stuff, including some rare older books. They do, as you see here, have some trade paperbacks. These are ones that are like brand new, or they know they can go for more than $1 or $2. So there's some pretty good stuff in here. Nothing I was willing to pay, $5 and up for. But I love going in this room because, as I said, I am a big fan of old books in general, and they have some absolutely ancient books in this special room. You have to actually check your bag at the door. Want to make sure there's no, thieves and stuff going in here. But still, a very cool place to look. But I'm not just at this sale for the comics and graphic novels. I also love the classics. Here I am looking at some Ernest Hemingway. I've actually found some very rare and valuable books at this sale in the past. They also have tons of music, CDs and vinyl. I know there are some people that go to the sale just for the music because you can get all of this stuff just as cheap as the books that they're selling. They even have movies. Yeah, some people donate DVDs and Blu-rays, and there's always someone in there looking through and picking out films. So I was at this sale for about an hour and a half just on that first day and filled up a very heavy bag of comics, trade paperbacks, and novels. But I ended up going back at the end of the week and I got even more. So let's go back to the house, guys. I'll show you everything that I got. Not only is it a great stack of stuff, but I think you'll agree I got it for an insanely good price. So there you go. That was once again a library sale out here in rural Western Massachusetts. And I love doing videos like this because it really does highlight that saying I have at the end of every video. You can find comics in strange and unusual places. Although I don't think it's actually that strange of a place to find comic books. Anywhere where there are books involved or reading, you can find comic books. And this is a very common thing to come across at big sales like this where people donate stuff. And I think I did pretty good for myself this time. Listen, guys, no first Harley Quinn, but I ended up with a huge stack of stuff. So big I can't even hold it up right now. Over the 2 days that I was there, not only is everything I got amazing, but I think you'll all agree, the price I got, absolutely a Lunch Money Comics price. Crazy what I got. So before I show you what I got, if you like this sort of stuff, head on down, like, comment, and subscribe. It's the best way to support the channel. And make sure you're following me on Instagram. So let's jump right into it with the comic books. Now, there were a lot more comic books that I left behind. Like I said, I was hoping a kid would find them, and get into comics. I only grabbed a little stack, but I'm happy with everything that I got, especially these. So these are Tick comics. These are all later printing, second print to sixth print. I think a lot of people know that Tick was first published out here in Massachusetts by New England Comics. You see the logo right there. I've been getting way more into the Tick lately. Similar to the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, there's a local connection. I've been getting more into these independently published comics. I've got a couple of Tick omnibuses I've been digging into, so I was happy to find these. Like I said, they're later printings, but still really cool things to find for only 50 cents. So we have issue number 4, happens to be the first appearance of his sidekick Arthur. We have issue number 5. Number 6. No number 7. Hopefully I didn't just miss it. But we're jumping up to issue number 8, number 9, and number 10. Again, guys, for 50 cents each, all day, every day. Happy to find these. You never know what you're going to find in there. You find some unusual things, and that's what we have here. This is a Star Wars comic published by Dark Horse. It's a number 0. Looks like it was published by American Entertainment as an exclusive. I know nothing about this ashcan-sized Star Wars comic, guys, other than it's got some great art of Princess Leia. Thought I would grab it. Because this was the kids section, I found a lot of comics that were more tailored for younger kids, a lot of like free comic book day stuff. I think this falls into that category. Marvel Action number 1, Spider-Man, we got Peter and Miles. We have Flash Convergence number 1. We have an X-Men classic. We get the Rachel Summers Phoenix right there on the cover. And a couple of funny ones. This one here is a Star comic. This was published by Marvel for a lot of like the cartoons in the 80s. We have a Heathcliff comic. Let me know in the comments if you remember Heathcliff. And this one, who I've never heard of, TV's new favorite star, Foofur. No idea who Foofur is. Let me know down in the comments if you do. Hey, that's pretty funny. I love the ads too. The Popples. I remember these from when I was a kid. I'm dating myself. So yeah, these are the only comic books I got, guys. But at 50 cents each, I'm happy with what I picked up. But now we need to talk about the trade paperbacks because I think that's where I got the real value. And I think I absolutely struck it rich from a reading material standpoint. Let's start with just what I got on that first day. And keep in mind how much these cost. If they were a soft paperback, they were only $1. And that's what all of these are. Everything you're about to see I got for $1 each, which I think is incredible. So let's start with this. This is Little Bird. Now, I have heard of this, but I have not read it. What caught my eye is that it's an Eisner Award winner from 2020 Best Limited Series. And yeah, I've heard good things about this. And whenever I find, especially standalone stuff, where I don't have to get into a whole series, I know who the characters are. I love reading this stuff. And again, a friend of mine vouched for this. So excited to read that. So this next one is really interesting. I'm always fascinated when people use the graphic novel medium to tell an unconventional story. They don't all have to be about superheroes, right? I find it even more amazing when people try to tell a non-fictional story, and that's sort of what we have here. This is Ghost River, the Fall and Rise of the Conestoga. Now, the Conestoga were a Native American tribe that lived in central Pennsylvania that were unfortunately massacred in the mid-1700s. About 20 Native Americans, a lot of women and children. This was obviously very common back then. And this here is a graphic novel retelling of the events leading up to and during that horrible event, but it does something else. It also jumps around in time to like the modern day descendants of those Native Americans. It also tries to tell like their creation myths in their background, and it's fascinating. But that's not all this is doing. After the graphic novel portion, there's a whole bunch of other parts of this book, including a whole section here about Native American representation in graphic novels and comics. There's a whole historical section here where they're showing, pictures of artifacts and letters from museums and private collections in Pennsylvania. And most interestingly, after the whole section of how they put this thing together, there's a section here for like lessons for kids. It seems like this was handed out or intended for use by like high school or college kids, because it asks you, after you read this chapter, what objectives are there? Here are some essential questions. Write them down. Write an essay. So yeah, I'm not sure if this was, meant for a class or if this was just a bonus for people, if they wanted to use it like that. But it's really interesting, guys. I'm a big history buff, and this is sort of a perfect combination of comic books meet history. And just flipping through this, guys, I found out a lot of really interesting facts. For instance, in the beginning, there's an introduction where they tell you, again, what led up to this, as well as, more importantly, what happened after the fact. And believe it or not, the events of that massacre led to what some people consider the first sort of social media war in the United States. I'm serious. It's called the Pamphlet Wars. Basically, after this massacre, a lot of other Native American tribes were sheltering in Philadelphia. A lot of the other settlers basically made a big mob and marched on Philly to try to get them. Well, a lot of the leaders in Philadelphia, wanting to de-escalate the situation, tried to basically calm them down by telling them to air their grievances in pamphlets. And the main person behind this was actually Benjamin Franklin. No surprise. Yeah, Ben Franklin said, hey, if you guys have a problem, instead of killing each other, write down your grievances and print them on a pamphlet. So that's what they did. Everyone calmed down, started writing pamphlets, and the other side would have a rebuttal, went back and forth, and it was kind of like the first social media war, where it was a war of words, but it was a great way for those leaders and Ben Franklin to de-escalate the whole situation. So it's a fascinating read, guys, and that was just in the first chapter of this book. Fascinating. Let me know if you know anything about this story in detail. I'd love to hear from you. Excited to go through this entire thing. All right, let's talk about the more conventional comics. We have this one right here, guys. This is the entire Dark Phoenix saga. Yep, all the issues right there. I actually own this already, but this is a great book to pick up. Give it to my son. Really, really cool. A couple of books. I showed them to you in the footage. Deadpool. Probably shouldn't have been in the kids section, but we have The Wedding of Deadpool. This is one of the ones that Brian Posehn wrote. And you see Nightcrawler right there being the pastor. And then we have Deadpool versus Sabretooth. I'm excited to read that. So these are cool. Next up, we have Moon Knight. Now, this is brand new, guys. This is a retail of $35. Awesome. I love Moon Knight. It's one of my favorite characters, but I got to admit, I haven't read a ton of Moon Knight. He's a character I just think is really cool. Always have. I always read about him in other comic books, where he's in a supporting role. I haven't read, dedicated just Moon Knight. So let me know if you've read any of this by, Lemire, Smallwood, Belair, the complete collection. Cool. A character I have read a lot of, though, is the Spectre. So here we have the Spectre Volume 1. This is the John Ostrander run. And yeah, I've read a lot of these guys, but my reading sort of stops around issue, I think, like 10 or so. And here we have a whole bunch more. So this is awesome. And let's go back in time a little further to Wrath of the Spectre. So these are all the ones that were in those adventure comics that were published in the 70s. I love collecting these comic books, guys, and I have read a couple of these out of my collection. These are awesome. Again, these are in perfect condition, guys. These have never been read. Binding's not broke. Wow. Happy to pick these up for 50 cents. Let's talk Alan Moore. Everyone loves Alan Moore, right? We have a V for Vendetta. This is the whole storyline. Now, this is pretty beat up. This has been around for a bit. You see it's got the sticker on it. Did come from a library after all. It's got all sorts of problems. That's okay, guys. It's a reader copy. That's what it's meant for. I have not read all of V for Vendetta, so excited to have this one right here. And speaking of Mr. Alan Moore, you saw it in the footage, guys. This is The Watchmen, the whole story, brand new, retail $25, binding never broke, brand spanking new, guys. I had to put on, once again, my Rorschach shirt just for this. Really excited. I have read Watchmen in the past, but to have a brand new, full copy like this in color, had to have it. So guys, this was just the first day, and all of these were $1 each, which I think is an absolutely incredible deal. But mind you, I went back at the end of the week when everything was half price, and I got another stack of graphic novels at an even better bargain. So when I went back 5 days later, I went to that kids section first and did notice, some of the comic books were missing. But the biggest thing that was noticeable was that all of the manga were completely gone. I'm not surprised, people love manga and that stuff goes quickly. But the adult graphic novels actually surprised me because most of them were gone. A lot of stuff I was hoping to pick up again. Still, I grabbed pretty much everything else that was in good shape or looked interesting. So let's start with this one. This is Bone. Yeah, I found this in the kids section. Yeah, Bone by Jeff Smith, beloved series. We have several of these in the house that my kids read. We haven't had this one yet. So grab this one. A lot of these, mind you guys, I've never even heard of. Let me know if you've read any of these. Give me a spoiler-free review. I'd love to hear it. Here's one. This is Troublemaker. This is by Janet and Alex Evinovich. It's a New York Times bestseller. Again, brand new bestseller. I'm going to try it, guys. So then I found this. This is Descender. This is by Jeff Lemire and Dustin Nguyen. And this is Volume 1, 10 stars. And this has accolades written all over it, as most books do anyways. The new sci-fi obsession is here. Entertainment Weekly. Ooh, intriguing. And I looked through it real quick and the art was amazing and cool. All right, yeah, I'll give it a try. I like science fiction. But then I found Descender Volume 2 and Descender Volume 3. So to get 3 volumes of a new series, guys, that looks interesting, I had to get all of them. And again, they're brand new. They're in perfect shape. So let me know down in the comments if any of you have read the series and what you think of it. This one looks really interesting. It's called Olympia. Beautiful cover here. But what really made it appeal to me was the back, where it says, a must-have for fans of Jack Kirby comics and Steven Spielberg films. Sign me up. Absolutely. There's also a quote here from a famous comic creator that says, in a business and art form that throws around the term genius as loosely as pocket change, this is a work truly deserving of that designation. Amazing. And who left that quote? Rob Liefeld. For whatever it's worth. So I was intrigued, guys. I want to read it. Let me know if you're familiar with it. This one's cool. So this is Shade the Changing Girl. This is a DC publication. I think a lot of people have heard of Shade the Changing Man, a character who I think is kind of weird and quirky. Also was a member of Justice League Dark. Yeah, I didn't even know who Shade the Changing Girl was. But again, the art looks fantastic. Looks interesting and fun and cool. And yeah, let me know if you've read this. This book. This one here, guys, I don't know what I'm looking at, but I know I like it. This is Starhenge, Book 1, The Dragon and the Boar by Liam Sharp. Now, it's a hardcover, right? So this one cost me a whopping $1 instead of 50 cents on this last day. But flipping through, guys, the art, see if I can show you. The art in this is a painted style. It is gorgeous. The art's amazing. It appears to be a sci-fi, sort of fantasy story. It looks incredible. I had to check it out. I have no idea what I picked up. Let me know down in the comments if you do. It's awesome. Yeah, again, it's got the stickers because it's, it's a library book, but it's awesome. And last but certainly not least, guys, had to get it. This is the Best American Comics of 2010. This is an anthology. There's lots of small mini comics in here, stories all jammed into one by different people, different artists, different writers. There's a foreword and editor by Neil Gaiman, Jessica Abel, and Matt Madden were the editors. And yeah, it just looks really interesting. I like these guys because I like lots of little standalone stories. You can pick it up, you can put it down, read a different chapter and a different story later. And again, hardcover, so this one cost me $1. So all told, guys, let me pick up all this stuff first to show you what I actually got. All right, let's see if I can pick these all up into frame. They're heavy. I got all of these trade paperbacks plus all of these comic books for $21. Are you kidding me? Guys, when I find a box of $5 trade paperbacks, I'm downright giddy. I don't even know what to say about this. I think it's a phenomenal deal. My only regret is I didn't get more of these on the first day, but they have this sale a couple of times a year. It's going to take me at least that long to get through all this reading material. But let me know down in the comments what you think of the sale, everything that I got, the price that I paid, and definitely let me know if you've read any of these and give me your review, spoiler free. Let me know if you liked it or if you didn't like it. I would love to hear from all of you. And that's it, guys. In the meantime, I hope you keep hunting for comic books in strange and unusual places, like libraries, like book sales. Comic books are far more prevalent at these types of places than you would imagine. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.